What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of My Team Career Mode. Today we are here at the Chinese Grand Prix at the season 2 of our My Team. So, if you guys missed the previous episode, do check that one out as it was quite a very interesting race at Australia. So here now we are doing some practice sessions so that we can gain some R&D points, and with those points we can improve our the car. So we are doing some upgrades here to this durability and aerodynamic section so that we can reduce the drag as we are in the back marker team, and we have a lot of improvement which we can do. So it is good to be back here at this Chinese Grand Prix after so many days. So hopefully this track can give us some better results compared to our previous results. So we are just adjusting our setup so that we can get some much needed straight line speed. And here, as you can see, we are just going on our first push lap. So in this Q1 lap we are just going through this right turn, means this turn just never ends, it is just going. So we are just holding on to our position and we are just countering the steering, because obviously this is a very oversteery section. So if you just eager to put your throttle down, it will just send your car into a backspin. So we need to avoid that, as we are almost 2 tenths up on the lap delta of Oscar Piastri. So we are just flying on this lap and we are using as much of curve as possible, and we are trying to gain as much time as we can as we are going through this left section and this right section, which is quite tricky and it puts a lot of stress on the tire. So the tire wear in this circuit will be high, so we'll be starting on the medium tires. So now as we are approaching the end of this sector 2, let us see what the delta is showing. It is showing that we are almost 6 tenths up on the timing of Oscar Piastri, so it is a very good lap. As you can see here, we are just trying to keep our car in a straight direction, because this right hander just throws your car away from the apex. So it is quite a crucial thing, as we just open our DRS and we are just traveling in this straight line, which is a very long straight. It is also called the back straight, as just we are braking at this 100-meter mark, and now we are just approaching this apex. So we get a nice turn in, a little bit of understeer, but it is quite understandable because obviously we are a back marker car, so our car is not at perfect. And again in the start finish state we open the DRS and go P9. Obviously this time we'll tumble down as the other drivers make their way as we go into P12. So finally we are into Q2, second time in this season, as the first time was in Jeddah, I think. So after Jeddah, this is the Chinese Grand Prix where we are going into Q2, as our teammate Drogovic is in the last position. So he has a lot of time to gain and hopefully he will be doing some great results in the race. So here in our Q2 lap we go P15. So obviously it is not enough and there is not enough time to go for another lap also. So we just end up in P15 position, which is 1.9 seconds away from the top. So it was what is expected, because obviously our car is not yet ready to go into Q3 sessions. So it is what it is, as we are going for this medium to hard strategy. And we are just adjusting some setups as Max Verstappen, Charles Leclerc, Sergio Perez, Carlos Sainz, Fernando Alonso gets into P5. So wonderful drive from the Alpine man. And here you can see we are in P14 as Lewis Hamilton is in P15. So probably he has taken some engine penalty. So let us see what happens, as 5 red lights. And away we go for the start of this Chinese Grand Prix, and it is a much better start compared to the Jeddah Grand Prix and the earlier Australian Grand Prix, because right now we did not get as much of wheel spin as was in the previous Grand Prix. So we are just boxed in front of Hamilton and Schwartzman, so we are just trying to avoid any carnage and we are just trying to protect our front wing. And as we are going through this left turn, you can see we made a slight bit of contact with Tsunoda, which gives us a warning. So it is not ideal, but hopefully at least we are able to control our front wing, and that is what is needed here at this Chinese Grand Prix, as Schumacher just overtakes us, but we go for a dive bomb down the inside of Albon also, who just leaves us enough of a space for us to go down inside, as Schumacher also overtakes Albon. So Albon has lost just 2 places in the space of 1 corner, so it is very unfortunate of him, but obviously he is in a Williams, which is a much better car than ours. As in this straight you can see Gasly is in front of us, so we are thinking of doing a dive bomb and we just go down the inside of Gasly, and he just leaves us enough of a space. But we made a slight bit of contact, but that is understandable because we are racing hard at this Shanghai Grand Prix. So now we are ahead of Gasly, but it is not for long, because obviously Gasly has this Red Bull engine under his car, so it just powers him up down this straight and we lose the position, but we again go for a switchback. So can we make that switchback happen? Yes, but we had to go somewhat out of the track, and which gives Gasly the position to gain some much needed traction on the rubbered part of the circuit, and he overtakes us with ease. And now you can see Schumacher is just behind us, and we left him enough of space down the inside, but he did not take it. I mean, I did not understand that. If there is a space, you have to go for it. This is hard racing. I don't know what the Haas guy was doing, because obviously there was enough of space for a car to go through, but he did not. As Hamilton was thinking of going down the inside, but we just managed to claim onto the inside position, which just turns onto this right-hander, which is very long. So obviously we are able to claim that position, but not for so long, as just Hamilton overpowers us in the straight and overtakes us with very much ease, as we just give him just a tap, because obviously we just made a mistake in the braking point. So yeah, that's serious, and no damage done to either of us. As the Haas, I think this is Schumacher, yeah, so he just made a dive bomb down the inside and he made the overtake stick. So maybe he's making amends to the earlier incident where he couldn't go down the inside of the turn 1. So now Albon is just behind us and he's trying to go through, but obviously he just climbs onto the curb, which unsettles his car and he's unable to go through that penultimate turn. So we just claim the position and get some DRS also. And in the next straight also, you can see we just left him enough of space, but he did not go through. So Albon is having some doubts in his mind whether he can just push his car into those spaces or not, maybe because he's suffering from engine issues. As talking about engine issues, this is Guan Yu Zhou, the home boy, who had a DNF because obviously the Aston Martin did not, I think, place some nice engine onto the back of his car. So the homeboy gets DNF'd, which is very unfortunate of this young Chinese driver. As in this back straight, we just go down the inside of Albon, who left enough of a space, and again the ever opportunist AlphaTauri, he just makes the overtake Tsunoda. So yeah, Tsunoda just claims the position from Albon, who just left enough of space. And it was a nice overtake, I would say, because obviously the gap was there and we made it count, as Tsunoda just overtakes us, because it is quite obvious, because obviously AlphaTauri is having the Red Bull engine, which is just superior compared to our Renault powertrain. And we are thinking of let us see what we can do after the end of the season, because we need some power in our engine. So either we have to go for the R&D upgrades, or maybe we have to change the engine supplier. As again in this penultimate turn, you can see Albon was just trying to place his car through the curb, but it just unsettled him, and so he couldn't make that overtake. But since our pit strategy is now in the lap 12, so we will be going for the hard tires, and Albon also follows up. So Albon is just following our strategy. So let's see what happens at this end of this race, as currently it was a good pit stop, unlike the other pit stops where we had to make some adjustments because our pit crew did not fix the tire properly. And Latifi overtakes, or rather it is Albon who just overtook us, but we had to go around the outside, and we had to just go off the track, otherwise it would have been a collision between me and Albon. But fortunately we go down the inside of this ultimate turn and we make the move stick, and it is a wonderful overtake, as many of cars are in the pit lane, and I was just praying that nobody gives us damage, because obviously they are having the cold tires. So I was hoping Stroll would not give us damage, and thankfully it was the case, as we just managed to go through that pit section very easily and without any damage to other cars and ours as well. So right now we are at the lap 15, and you can see our teammate is in the pits. So we just undercut our teammate, and we had to do that because obviously you can see our car is sliding. So a tiny bit of slide, you can see, just I almost thought we are going to Spinella, but thankfully we were able to control our car. So GG's to us, as Robert Schwarzman is out of this session. He has an engine failure, so the Ferrari engine is also suffering from reliability issues here at this Chinese Grand Prix, as the young Alfa Romeo driver had some engine failure, and we almost Spinella again in that curve. I mean, that curve is just unpredictable. Sometimes it allows you to go through it, but again in some other times it just spins you away. As Magnussen made a brilliant overtake down the straight, because it is powered by the Ferrari engine, and Haas is just, what can I say, a rocket in a straight line. And as you can see here, Charles Leclerc wins the Chinese Grand Prix. So a Ferrari gets the double podium, Carlos Sainz goes into P3, and we come in home to P15. So it was a decent race. I would say it is much better than the Australian Grand Prix, and Lewis Hamilton gets the driver of the day, obviously a crowd favorite here at China, as Charles Leclerc, Max Verstappen and Carlos Sainz get into the podium places, and Lewis Hamilton goes from P15 to P9. and Pierre Gasly also did a wonderful race as we go from P14 to P15, and our teammate goes from P21 to P19. So it was a decent race for us as Charles Leclerc takes the lead in the championship by 10 points from Carlos Sainz, his teammate, and Ferrari are obviously leading the championship standings. So let us see what happens between Ferrari and Red Bull. So this was about the Chinese Grand Prix, and at this end of the race, we also get some cash and rivalry points as we overtook Lance Stroll. And with these points, we will be able to upgrade our sections as we get a chassis department event. So let us see what this event is. It is throwing a party to the department. Obviously, they need a party because they have performed well. I mean, the car is much better than the season one. So hopefully the chassis department will be happy with our spending. So this was about the Chinese Grand Prix, and if you guys like this video, please give it a thumbs up and do subscribe this channel for daily F122 content. And next weekend we'll be going to the Simola Grand Prix, so which will also have a sprint race. So do check that one out as we'll meet again tomorrow for the Simola Grand Prix. And thank you guys for watching. Until then, peace.